before you proceed with component installation, make sure to remove both the left and right side panels first for an easier workflow. There are already motherboard standoffs pre-installed for a standard ATX motherboard layout. But if you need to install a micro ATX motherboard, there are areas which you need to add a motherboard standoff, which are marked as MATX. Although the drive bays, both the 3.5 inch and the 5.25 inch, are toolless, you would have to use a screwdriver to install the motherboard into the motherboard tray. The Corsair Carbide 400R has a bottom-mounted power supply area, and as such, you would take your power supply's ventilation fan, face it downwards, and install it in place. Secure the back with screws, and you can use your power supply and route your cables here on the front routing area. Now, depending on the size of your power supply, the 140mm optional fan mounting area might be obstructed, but you can still use the 120mm fan mounts. Before you can install a 5.25 inch external drive, you must first take out an appropriate hard drive bay cover. If you want to take out the topmost part, you just simply push the locks on each side. There are two on each side. Push it inward and just push from the middle, and there you have it. Once the hard drive bay cover is removed, you can take your optical drive and slide it into place, but make sure that there are no obstructions in the rear. Cables and your SATA and power cable are not in the way, and you just simply slide it in place until it locks. Installing hard drives is just as easy with the use of the tool-free caddies. As you can see, they bend a little bit easier, but that is by design so that you can just take your hard drive, align the mounting holes inside locks, and just bend it in place. As for SSD drives, you would have to use the screws provided. You just take 4 of these, align them in the 4 mounting holes at the bottom, and screw them in place. As you can see, you make sure that the SATA connectors are facing away from the left side panel. And after you're done with installation, you just simply push in your drive in place and connect the cables. Before you install a video card inside the Carbide Series 400R mid-tower case, make sure to remove the PCI expansion slot cover for the corresponding PCI expansion slot you're going to install your video card into. And there's plenty of room inside the Carbide Series 400R, and as you can see, even the largest video card currently available, the AMD Radeon HD 6990 dual GPU video card, fits without any issues. And there's even 2 centimeters of room left between the hard drive cage and the video card. We have installed all our components now, and as you can see, we have even routed all the cables, and there's plenty of room and option to do that. You can see even the 8-pin power connector on the upper left hand corner has its own cable routing area, which eliminates the need to route it on top of the motherboard like in some mainstream cases that lack cable management options. And even with a non-modular power supply, you have either the option of storing your cables right in front of it if you're not going to use the 120 and 140mm optional intake area right in front of the power supply, or you can do what I did, was move all the unused non-modular cables at the very bottom of the hard drive cages if you're not going to populate all 6 of the hard drive caddies. And still plenty of room. Even the front panel audio has this large cutout here underneath, and I've also used it to attach the USB 2.0 header. Now the Corsair Carbide 400R only has USB 3.0 headers, which is a 20-pin header, which is compatible with most of the modern motherboards, but our test motherboard here only has USB 2.0 onboard headers. But that's not a problem because Corsair provided a 20-pin to standard USB 2.0 connector adapter that I've just used there, and everything is well organized here on the left side. And there even is plenty of room here, the CPU area, and I can I can install. I don't need to take out the aftermarket heatsink if I want to install an exhaust fan here on top, and if I want to add an additional fan here for the CPU. And let's put on the left side panel, and let's take a look at what the cables look like on the other side of the motherboard tray. And this is what it looks like behind the motherboard tray on the right side panel. And we have routed all our cables in here, and as you can see, it looks a bit more chaotic, but that is not a problem, since with all the cables behind the motherboard tray, it is away from all the vital components and airflow is not disrupted. See, there's plenty of room with cables in here. We can just store them in here, or behind, underneath, and beside the hard drive cages. And the important part is that Corsair designed the hard drive area here with this kind of orientation to be able to use standard SATA cables, and there's actually plenty of room in there to use that kind of cable and still close the left side panel. Unlike some cases available in the mainstream that have this kind of orientation, they have very little space left here, so you're forced to use right-angled SATA cables. So that's a very good design decision in part of Corsair. Also, the extruded side panel design is not just for aesthetic, but that's actually very smart decision by Corsair, because that way you can install, you can route rather more cables, and it actually provides more room and more breathing room for your cables to sit behind the motherboard tray. Similarly, on the other side, you can install a side fan and use a tall aftermarket heatsink because of that extruded design. Now let us put back our side panels. We can see what the LEDs look like and listen to just how loud the bundled fans are.